Live with ENCA's continued free election weekend coverage here on this Sunday afternoon. I'm Tembekile Mkhototo. Civic education could stop low voter turnout and ensure commitment to democratic norms among the youth. That's according to the Human Sciences Research Council's findings. It says electoral reform may lead to improvements in attitudes toward voting. To discuss this, we can bring in Dr. Benjamin Roberts from the Research Council. He joins us now from our Pretoria studio. Dr. Roberts, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you for your time. So I'm looking at some of your findings here, and 62% of South Africans aged 18 to 25 are dissatisfied with democracy. Why is that?
I think it's due to several reasons. I think what we've seen is a growing concern amongst youth about issues of accountability. We're hearing a lot of promises around election time, and youngsters in particular are very keen to have meaningful delivery upon issues such as jobs and service delivery in particular. We're hearing through our own work, through focus groups and surveying, that there is growing discontent with the emptiness of those promises, and as such we're seeing real discontent. And that's translating into registration statistics and, by extension, turnout statistics amongst those under 30.
And in this election season, Dr. Roberts, how are political parties able to draw out millions of people to make their way to the ballot on Wednesday when, from your findings, across the age groups, only 12 to 17% actually trust politicians?
Yeah, trust is low. It's not only low amongst youth, it's common to most age groups, from those aged in the teens right through to those of pensionable age. I think what's particularly key in this election is the registration factor. If we think that those under 30 now represent more than half of the voting age public, but only 54% of those in their 20s registered, and only 19% of those aged 18 to 19 registered. So that's real substantive decline in registration. I think it's important to say that that's not because of apathy. We believe very strongly that this is a strong statement from the youth to convey to political leaders the fact that they feel that accountability remains missing in the inter-election period. So the fact is that given that we have such low registration turnout statistics, that's inevitably going to translate into low turnout amongst that cohort.
But if young people, Doctor, are not staying away from voting because of apathy, as we've often been told, which is in fact a global situation, you're saying it's more of a need, they're sending a message that they want accountability from those in power. Are the political parties, as far as your observations are concerned, heeding that message and delivering the accountability that is so much needed?
I think a starting point is to see, to give a sense of the fact that the youth are not apathetic. We see fundamentally that they have a very strongly held belief in the duty to vote. So that's a very strong marker to say that the youth want to participate. They struggle, and let's be honest, in the last 2 to 3 months over the campaigning period, parties have gone to extreme lengths to try and woo young voters and make sure that they do come and turn out. Unfortunately, it didn't translate through registration stats, but certainly if we look at the politics across the country and the kind of characteristics of those coming to Stadia, if we look at the attempt to engage the youth through tertiary institutions, there's been very aggressive efforts by the top 3 and beyond to try and capture that vote. It matters fundamentally given that we see what share of the voters the youth now represent.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Roberts, just based on some of the other numbers that have come from your study, you have put the level of interest in politics across the age groups at between 41 to 44% across age groups. What does that mean then for the optimal performance of a democratic system in South Africa?
I think if we look at it in a longer term perspective, political interest has sort of remained fairly consistent in that sort of 40 to 45% range, not only for youth but across age groups. So I don't think it's something yet to particularly instrumentally worry about. I think that's true of most democracies worldwide. Interest is not in the 80% and beyond mark. It's usually in that range. So I don't think that's a sign of democratic decline. I think where we should be more worried is looking at statistics that relate more to levels of confidence in key political institutions. And we've seen very radical declines in trust in Parliament, trust in national government, and other key political institutions, and that's where we should be fundamentally worried. It's gone from the sort of round about the 60% mark in 2009 to barely slightly under a third trusting those institutions as we enter the 2019 elections. So those are very strong messages, almost like an appeal from the voting public to say, please come out and address our fundamental needs, show real delivery on those promises. So I think that's certainly going to be the post-electoral message. Voters, those that do come out and vote, as well as those that didn't, are really going to look to how parties are acting from the 9th of May onwards.
With that in mind then, is it your reading that the vote in South Africa has lost its power, has lost its revere?
No, I think there's still a strong commitment, a belief personally in the power of one's vote. I think though it has diminished to some degree in the last 5 to 10 years, and it is a worrying sign because once that sense of the power of one's vote is lost, it's very difficult to recapture it. That can really be a factor that promotes real apathy. So those are the indicators that we really want to watch, and we have been watching leading up to 2019, and we're certainly going to continue monitoring as the HSRC in coming years. So it's not only one's own power vote, it's also how the elected officials behave post-elections and whether they really respond to the needs of those that cast their X on the 8th of May.
Dr. Benjamin Roberts from the Human Sciences Research Council, thank you for your time this Sunday afternoon.